Have you ever felt like you're searching for deeper insights, timeless truths that can genuinely make a difference in how you live your life and relate to others? It's a fundamental human quest, one that great thinkers throughout history have explored. Think about someone like Dale Carnegie, whose work delved into the very heart of human nature and connection, offering principles that remain incredibly relevant even today. The wisdom he and others have shared isn't just academic. It's about understanding ourselves, navigating our relationships, and finding our place in the world in a way that feels meaningful and authentic. In this video, we're going to explore some powerful life lessons, inspired by the kind of profound observations that reshape our perspective. We'll touch on how to master our own minds, build stronger connections with the people around us, discover a quiet personal happiness, and find the resilience to face whatever challenges come our way. These aren't just nice ideas. They are practical tools for building a life filled with more understanding, more connection, and greater peace of mind. So, if you're ready to dive into wisdom that stands the test of time and unlock insights that can help you navigate life's journey with greater clarity and purpose, make sure you stay with us until the very end. Every single point shared is a piece of the puzzle, and you won't want to miss any of them. And if you find value in this conversation, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring more of these important ideas to you and our community. The silent words of trust. There exists a silent maxim in human relationships that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. Never place your deepest, most vulnerable trust in those individuals who have the ease and willingness to share with you the secrets or confidences that other people have entrusted to them in private. Think about it carefully. If someone feels comfortable revealing intimate details, past mistakes, vulnerabilities, or private information about a third person who confided in them, what makes you think that same person won't do exactly the same thing with you as soon as your back is turned, or the dynamic of the relationship changes? The inclination to divulge someone else's confidential information is not an isolated trait. It's often indicative of a lack of discretion, a desire for gossip, or even a need to feel important by possessing privileged knowledge. When someone tells you a secret about another person, in that very act, they are demonstrating to you implicitly but clearly that they don't value confidentiality above the conversation or entertainment of the moment. They are showing you their hand, and the rule is that information is a currency that can be freely spent. This person in the present might seem like your ally, your friend, someone with whom you can share your frustrations about others. But the precedent is set. If you entrust them with your own vulnerabilities, your fears, your budding plans, or anything else you prefer to keep private, you run a considerable risk that this information will also be used, shared, or, in the worst case, distorted and used against you at some point in the future. It's not about judging people harshly or living in a constant state of suspicion, but about being wise and protecting your own information and emotional well-being. Discretion is an admirable quality in a friend or confidant. Someone who respects the confidentiality that others place in them is much more likely to respect yours. Conversely, someone who has no qualms about betraying the trust of others, even under the guise of friendship or camaraderie with you, carries a red flag. No matter how entertaining or interesting the stories they tell you about others seem, the way they handle the confidential information of others is a mirror of how they will handle yours. Be selective with your confidences. Earn the trust of others by being discreet and respectful yourself with the information they share with you, and observe how others handle that same responsibility. People who are trustworthy don't need to prove it by telling you the secrets of others. They prove it by keeping their own and respecting the privacy of everyone around them. True connection is built on a foundation of mutual trust and respect for confidentiality, not on the exchange of gossip or the betrayal of others' trust. Be aware of this and protect yourself, wisely choosing whom you decide to confide your most intimate thoughts and feelings in. Because the silent words of trust are not spoken by sharing others' secrets, but by demonstrating the ability to keep your own and respect those of others at all times and under any circumstances. That is the true sign of someone you can fully trust. The two faces of success and failure. Life, in its complex dance of achievements and challenges, presents us with two sides of the same coin: success and failure. Interestingly, the way the world perceives and experiences them differs enormously. It is said with a certain dose of truth and pragmatism that success often embraces you in privacy, in the quiet culmination of your efforts, in the silent completion of a long-cherished project, in the intimate moment when you know you've achieved it after countless hours of work no one saw. Success can be the sigh of relief after delivering a job well done, the personal satisfaction of reaching a goal you set for yourself, the quiet moment you celebrate with the few who were with you on the arduous journey. It is the result of perseverance, discipline, and often a good dose of luck. But its initial and purest manifestation can be an internal feeling, a personal validation that requires no immediate public applause or recognition. It is the internal reward that no one can take away from you. You can succeed in improving a relationship, in learning a new skill, in overcoming a personal fear. These are deep and significant successes that often remain in the private sphere. They don't need fanfare to be valuable. On the other hand, failure tends to slap you in public, with a resonance that often seems magnified by the gaze or judgment of others. The failure of a project, the inability to reach a visible goal, the making of a mistake that has palpable consequences. These situations often unfold in the public sphere, or at least their repercussions become public. It's when what you attempted didn't work, and everyone around you, or so it seems, is a witness to it. Criticism may come, eyes may judge, and the feeling of disappointment can feel amplified by the fact that you didn't just fail yourself, but also in some way, you seem to have failed in front of others. Failure can feel humiliating, exposed, painful precisely because it often happens under the scrutiny, real or imagined, of the audience. It's the known lost investment, the project that didn't take off despite expectations, the performance that wasn't up to par. These are experiences you often cannot hide. They are part of the narrative woven around you. This duality teaches us something important about resilience and perception. We must learn not to exclusively seek public applause as a measure of our success, nor allow the public judgment of our failures to completely define us. The most enduring success is often that which you build brick by brick in the privacy of your effort and character. And failure, though it may hurt in public, contains invaluable lessons that only you, through introspection, can decipher and use to grow. Don't let the public shame of failure prevent you from trying again. Every fall observed by others is also an opportunity for them to see your ability to get back up. The true measure of a person is not whether they fail, because we all do at some point, but how they respond to that failure, especially when it happens for all to see. Learn to embrace your private successes as fuel and to face your public failures as opportunities for learning and demonstrations of your perseverance. Life is this constant interaction between what we achieve in silence and how we manage the stumbles that, inevitably, will occur on the stage. The quietness of personal happiness. If there is a secret to a contented and serene life, one of its cornerstones might be this simple yet profound truth. If something genuinely makes you happy, if it brings you inner peace and personal satisfaction, keep it in the quietness of your own heart and don't feel obligated to announce it to the whole world. In the age of constant connection and social validation through digital platforms, there is an implicit pressure to share every moment of joy, every achievement, every positive experience. It seems that if happiness is not seen, commented on, or liked by others, it somehow loses value or authenticity. But true happiness, the kind that nourishes the soul and gives you a lasting sense of well-being, often flourishes best in privacy, away from the noise and external expectations. When we constantly share our happiness with a desire for validation, we run the risk of diluting its essence. The simple joy of a quiet afternoon, the satisfaction of having helped someone without expecting recognition, the pleasure of a solitary hobby, the deep connection in an intimate conversation. These are moments of genuine happiness that do not need to be exposed to be meaningful. On the contrary, sometimes, excessive exposure of our happiness can even tarnish it. It can generate envy in others, invite criticism, or simply make us feel that the experience is not complete until it has been approved by an audience. When you keep your happiness, or at least a significant part of it, as a personal treasure, you protect it from the volatility of public opinion and social comparison. Your joy then does not depend on how many likes a photo receives or how impressive your life seems to others. It depends solely on your own appreciation and the connection you have with that source of happiness. This does not mean you should never share your joys. It is natural and healthy to want to celebrate with the people you love. But the key lies in the motivation behind the act of sharing. Do you share because you genuinely want to connect with someone about something you care about, or do you share because you seek an injection of external validation? Learning to enjoy your happiness in quietness, to savor precious moments without the need for an audience, is an act of self-preservation and strengthening your inner peace. It allows you to anchor your well-being in something more solid than the volatile tide of social approval. The happiness that is cultivated and enjoyed in privacy is often the most resilient and the one that most deeply nourishes you. It is your personal sanctuary, your secret source of joy that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. In a world that constantly pushes you to display your life, finding and protecting the quietness of your personal happiness is a revolutionary and deeply liberating act. It allows you to be happy for yourself and by yourself, which ultimately is the purest and most sustainable way to be happy. The shaping power of our thoughts. Within the vast and unexplored geography of our being, the most influential and powerful realm is, without a doubt, that of our thoughts. It is they, our internal reflections, our ingrained beliefs, our interpretations of reality, that ultimately shape and define us. We are, in essence, what our thoughts drive us to be. The quality of our life experience depends less on the external circumstances that surround us, and more on the way our mind processes and reacts to those circumstances. If we cultivate thoughts of limitation, fear, and constant doubt, it is very likely that our actions will reflect those limitations and that our life will feel constrained by them. We will see obstacles instead of opportunities, reasons not to try instead of reasons to persevere. Our reality will become a reflection of that pessimistic or fearful vision residing in our mind. Conversely, if we nourish thoughts of possibility, resilience and confidence in our abilities, it is much more likely that we will approach challenges with a constructive and proactive attitude. We will see stumbles as lessons, setbacks as temporary detours on the path, and we will feel the motivation to move forward despite the difficulties. Our mind becomes an ally that pushes us to seek solutions, to learn from experience, and to believe in our capacity to adapt and grow. Our thoughts are like seeds that we plant in the garden of our mind. If we plant seeds of worry and negativity, we will harvest anxiety and despair. If we plant seeds of hope and determination, we will harvest resilience and possibility. It is crucial to understand that while we cannot always control the first thoughts that arise in our minds, we can control how we react to them and which ones we choose to nourish. We can learn to question our limiting thoughts, to challenge our negative beliefs, and to redirect our attention towards more constructive perspectives. This process is not always easy. It requires practice, self-awareness, and an active commitment to managing our own mind. But the effort is worthwhile, because by taking control of our thoughts, we take control of the narrative of our lives. We free ourselves from being mere victims of our circumstances and become conscious architects of our experience. The mind is an incredibly powerful tool, capable of building or destroying. The choice of how we use that tool, which thoughts we decide to allow to take root and grow, is one of the most important decisions we make every day. By recognizing the shaping power of our thoughts and by committing to cultivating a mindset that propels us forward instead of holding us back, we unlock immense potential for growth, resilience, and the creation of the life we truly wish to live. Ultimately, what we think not only influences what we do, but fundamentally determines who we are and who we have the capacity to become. The art of being genuinely interesting. Paradoxically, one of the most effective ways to be perceived as an interesting and captivating person does not lie in talking incessantly about yourself or in striving to impress others with grand achievements or anecdotes. The true art of being genuinely interesting is found on the opposite side of the conversation, in the ability to be deeply interested in others. When you interact with someone and show sincere and authentic interest in what they have to say, in their experiences, in their thoughts and feelings, several important things happen. Firstly, you validate the other person. We all long to be seen and heard. When someone gives you their complete attention, it makes you feel valued and significant. This creates an immediate and positive connection. People feel good being around someone who makes them feel important. Secondly, by asking relevant questions and actively listening, you invite the other person to open up and share more of themselves. And people tend to enjoy talking about themselves. It's a topic they know well and feel comfortable discussing. When you give them the opportunity to do so in a safe and receptive space, the conversation flows naturally and becomes much more enriching for both of you. It's not about interrogating the other person, but about engaging in a dialogue based on curiosity and respect. Open-ended questions that invite reflection, comments that show you are processing what they are saying, and body language that communicates attention, eye contact, nodding, etc., are powerful tools in this process. Thirdly, by being interested in others, you expand your own world. You learn from their perspectives, discover new ideas, and expose yourself to different ways of seeing life. Each person is a universe of experiences and knowledge, and by showing interest, you open yourself up to exploring those universes. This enriches you, makes you more empathetic, and yes, makes you a more interesting person, because you have a broader and more nuanced understanding of the world and human nature. Think about the people you consider most interesting. Are they those who dominate every conversation with their own stories, or those who make you feel like you are the most fascinating person in the room because they listen attentively and ask you insightful questions? Most likely it's the latter. Being interesting is not about being the center of attention, but about being a center of connection. It's about building bridges with others through attentive listening and genuine curiosity. It's an act of conversational generosity, where you give space and attention to the other person, and by doing so unexpectedly, you become someone others want to know and interact with. So the next time you want to make a good impression or simply connect with someone, remember the art of being genuinely interested. Ask questions, truly listen, and you will see how the doors of meaningful communication open wide, revealing the richness and depth of human connections. Distancing yourself from lack of self-criticism. In the intricate tapestry of human relationships, we will inevitably encounter individuals whose perception of themselves seems distorted in a particular and often frustrating way. I'm referring to those people who seem incapable of seeing or admitting any flaw, mistake, or questionable behavior in their own actions, while at the same time possessing an almost supernatural ability to identify and point out every tiny imperfection, error, or misstep in the actions of others. This dynamic can be incredibly toxic and exhausting in any type of relationship, whether it's friendship, family, professional, or romantic. Interacting with someone who lacks self-criticism and constantly projects blame or judgment outward is like trying to have a constructive conversation with a mirror that only reflects your own flaws. The lack of self-criticism often stems from deep insecurities, from a defense mechanism that prevents the person from facing the possibility of not being perfect or having acted incorrectly. Admitting a mistake or acknowledging a flaw would involve confronting painful aspects of themselves, and to avoid that pain, they project responsibility and judgment onto others. Criticizing others allows them to feel superior, divert attention from their own shortcomings, and maintain an illusion of flawlessness that is fragile and difficult to sustain in the long run. However, this strategy, while it may offer temporary relief to the person employing it, is devastating for those who relate to them. You constantly feel judged, criticized, and held responsible for problems or situations where your role may be minimal or non-existent. Your own mistakes are magnified, while the other person's are invisible or justified. Setting boundaries and, in many cases, distancing yourself from people with a marked lack of self-criticism is essential for your own emotional and mental well-being. You cannot have an equal and healthy relationship with someone who is unwilling to take responsibility for their own actions and who uses criticism of others as a shield. Trying to reason with them or convince them to see their own flaws is usually a futile effort, as their defense mechanism is very strong. You will exhaust yourself trying, instead protect yourself. Limit the time you spend with them. Avoid sharing sensitive information that could be used to criticize you. And if the relationship is particularly harmful, consider whether it is necessary to walk away entirely. Your inner peace and self-esteem are more important than maintaining a connection that constantly undermines you. Recognizing this pattern of behavior in others and understanding that it is not your responsibility to fix them is the first step to protecting yourself. Give yourself permission to distance yourself from constant negativity and unilateral judgment, creating space for more balanced and healthy relationships where responsibility and constructive self-criticism are possible in both directions. The fragility of excessive dependence. In the complex web of interdependence that characterizes human life, it is natural and healthy to depend to some extent on other people, whether for emotional support, practical help, or companionship. We build relationships precisely to share burdens, celebrate joys, and face challenges together. However, there is a very fine line between healthy interdependence and excessive dependence, and it is crucial to be aware of where that line lies for our own well-being and resilience. We are reminded in a poetic yet somber way of the fragility of excessive dependence when considering the nature of our own shadow. During the day, under the sunlight, your shadow is a constant companion, following you wherever you go, a loyal presence that never leaves you. But what happens when darkness falls, when the light disappears completely? Your shadow, that companion that seemed unconditional, simply vanishes, becoming indistinguishable from the surrounding night, leaving you alone in the dark. This metaphor, though simple, contains a deep truth about dependence. When things are going well, when there is light in your life, success, health, stable relationships, resources, the people around you, those in whom you have placed your trust and dependence, may seem like constant and reliable presences, like your shadow under the sun. They are there, they accompany you, they are visible. But when darkness arrives, when you face a crisis, a loss, a significant failure, a serious illness, or any other challenge that plunges you into the darkness of difficulty, you may discover that some of those people you excessively depended on withdraw, don't know how to handle your situation, or simply don't have the capacity or willingness to be there in the way you need them to be. And in those moments of greatest need, you may feel painfully alone, as if your shadow has abandoned you just when you needed it most to guide you or feel accompanied. This does not mean that everyone in your life will fail you. There are genuine and deep relationships based on love and commitment that withstand the tests of darkness. But the warning is against excessive dependence on a single person or a very limited group. Putting all your emotional, financial, or practical weight on the shoulders of another, expecting them to always be there and always be able to meet all your needs, is an unfair burden on them and a risky strategy for you. Life is unpredictable, and people's circumstances change. They get sick, they move, they face their own crises, or they simply evolve in ways that alter their ability to support you in the way they used to. The lesson here is to cultivate self-sufficiency and build a diverse support system. Develop your own capabilities to face challenges. Cultivate your internal resilience, and instead of excessively depending on a single source, nurture multiple healthy relationships with different people who can offer different types of support. In this way, if one light goes out or one shadow temporarily disappears, you won't be left completely in the dark. You will have other sources of light and support to turn to. Learning to be your own light in the darkness, to trust in your ability to navigate difficult moments even when you feel alone, is one of the most important skills you can develop. Healthy dependence is sharing life. Excessive dependence is putting your life in the hands of another, forgetting that in the deepest darkness, the only one who will always be there to seek the way is yourself. The persistent nature of bad habits. All of us at some point in our lives have struggled with the persistence of bad habits. Whether it's procrastinating on important tasks, eating unhealthily, spending too much time on unproductive activities, or any other behavior we know isn't beneficial to us in the long run. Bad habits have an insidious quality that makes them difficult to eradicate. A very apt analogy is offered to describe this difficulty. Bad habits are like a comfortable bed. It's incredibly easy and tempting to get into it. Resistance is minimal, and the gratification, even if temporary or illusory, is immediate. But once you are there, nestled in its familiarity and comfort, getting out becomes an arduous task and requires considerable willpower. Think about it. Why do we start a bad habit? Often, because it offers an easy way to avoid discomfort, to seek quick pleasure, to evade responsibilities, or to manage difficult emotions in a way that seems less demanding at the moment. Putting off a difficult task feels good because you avoid the effort and potential frustration in the present, even if you know the worry about the pending task will grow. Eating something unhealthy but delicious gives you instant pleasure, even if you know it doesn't contribute to your long-term health. Mindlessly scrolling through social media is an easy escape from boredom or anxiety, even if it consumes valuable time you could use more productively. These habits are comfortable in the sense that they require little initial resistance and offer some kind of immediate reward, however minimal or negative in the long term. They are the path of least resistance in the moment. However, the real difficulty arises when you try to get out of that comfortable bed. Bad habits become ingrained in our routines and in our neurology. They create neural pathways that make it easier to repeat the behavior than to break it. Our brain gets used to the reward the habit provides, and it craves that familiarity. Breaking a bad habit involves going against inertia, resisting the urge, and facing the discomfort or uneasiness that arises when you deprive yourself of the reward you've become accustomed to. It requires a conscious effort to choose a different path, a path that may initially feel less comfortable or even painful, like getting out of a warm bed on a cold morning. Overcoming a bad habit is not just a matter of momentary willpower. It is a process that involves awareness, planning, and perseverance. You need to identify the triggers for the habit, find healthier alternatives to satisfy the underlying needs, whether it's avoiding discomfort, seeking pleasure, etc., and create an environment that facilitates good behavior and makes bad behavior more difficult. It is a constant work of making small right decisions instead of the comfortable wrong decisions, but the reward for getting out of that comfortable bed of bad habits is immense: greater health, increased productivity, better emotional well-being, and a sense of control over your own life. Recognizing that the initial ease of a bad habit is precisely what makes it dangerous in the long run is the first step towards developing the discipline needed to choose the harder but more rewarding path of self-improvement and personal growth. The short-term comfort of bad habits is never worth the price you pay in the long term for their persistence in your life. We have journeyed together through profound reflections on the threads that weave our existence. The importance of genuine trust, how we view success and failure, the quiet pursuit of personal happiness, the power of our thoughts, the art of connecting with others, the challenge of dealing with those who don't see their own mistakes, the need to cultivate our own strength, the elusive nature of bad habits, the immense impact of perspective in the face of adversity, and the irreplaceable value of living and communicating our truth. Each of these ideas, simple in appearance, contains a powerful guide for navigating life's complex map with greater awareness and purpose. These lessons are not mere theories, they are invitations to action, principles that, when understood and applied, have the potential to transform our daily experience. They remind us that much of our happiness and well-being resides in our internal attitude, in the choices we make moment by moment about how we respond to the world and how we relate to ourselves and to others. Cultivating a resilient mind, seeking authenticity in our interactions, and learning from every experience, good or bad, are essential steps on the path towards a more complete and meaningful life, a life that feels truly our own. Now it's your turn. Take a moment to reflect on which of these ideas resonates most with you right now. Is there one that you feel you need to apply more in your life? I invite you not to let these reflections remain just words, but to put them into practice. Share your thoughts in the comments, and start today to integrate these lessons to build the life you desire.